Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Angel Torres from the HR development team. With me is my team here. We're gonna give you a training about our new training coordination app, which we have developed with the HRS team developed for us from based on our needs and your needs on how to coordinate a training. You know that we have a process for that, and we will give you the new update, so how to use it. So let's get to it. First, let me present the team. Our chief is Marcus James, who is with us. Our specialists are Omaira Bedward, Lisette Lima, Valerie McKinney, Samantha Montalvo, me, Angel Torres, and Luis Torres. Not my brother, but we're almost kind of related now. So, all right. So, if you have any questions, remember that you can find us. I'll give you the link for the email group for us. VISN 8 HRD at va.gov. But it's good that you see our faces, so you know who we are, and you finally get to meet us, right? So, in the beginning, our team was created to create trainings for the HR service, right? And we started. We were kind of a rocky start. We didn't know what to do basically because we were a whole new service that was created in this for the VA. So we basically didn't know what to do. We have assistants from WMC who gave us our guides of what we were supposed to train our staff onto, and we develop our own way. So in the beginning, all teams, if you wanted to request a training for your staff, what you did was you contacted us and we provided for an assistance for the announcement only. We only helped you in creating the announcement so you can let everybody know about your training. In the run of things, we learned that we could do a better way. It was a webinar. We found that we can do a webinar with an update that Teams had, and we can create the event for you and give you some options to alleviate from the pressure of, for example, every time you create a meeting, if you create a normal meeting for your trainings, everybody has their mics on, everybody comes in and goes, and then if you forget to put the options or by mistake add the options like saying that the announcer, every time that someone comes in, they give you a name, it could be a real mess. Every time that someone opens up their mic and interrupts you, that is also something. Video interruptions too. I saw that too in some training. So yeah, it was a hard time to, get a meeting right? But we found that the teams did an update and we found the webinar option. And the webinar option gives you a little more control for that. So we started developing how we could help you guys in creating that trainings for that. And while we figured it out too, because the webinars thing was not working as we thought, as good as we thought at least, we started working with it, learning it, and then eventually we figure it out. And then we help you guys by creating the event. Gave us the details of the training, and we will give you the announcement. But right now that we are masters on doing webinars and all this stuff, and the app is working as intended, now we're ready to give you the coordination and show you how to do your own webinars. In this training, we will touch base on that. We will show you how to do a training coordination in our new app, and I will show you also how to create a webinar with all the options you might need for any training, right? So, what is a training coordination? Basically, a training coordination is if you have an event or a training, basically, that you want to give, or you want to give information to all employees, that case would be a lunch and learn. So we provide that help for you guys. You create the training. It's not that we create a training for you. You create the training, and we help you with the announcement and help you to create all the communications you need for the people to register and go into your training. So the HRD app was created with that in mind. If you need the training, we will help you get the standards that the VISN 8 has adhered to from the presentation, the way the presentation should be made, the template that it should be used, help you with the webinar and any details, and be co-owners for you for the event so we can help you in case something goes wrong. And we'll be there for you just in case, right? So the webinar feature creates a better solution. Basically, you can mute mics, you can turn off the video for everyone, so that it makes it impossible for people to interrupt you and keep you out of your flow. Because we've all been there, but doing a training and somebody turns on their mic and says something, you're like, what? You thought it was a question or whatever. It was someone that just came into a meeting, forgot to turn on their mics, and you're like, okay, cool. So it wasn't a question. They just interrupted you. You probably went blank, and you lost 5 minutes of your training. That could happen. Or sometimes, like it happened, we had a training that a person turned on their camera and they didn't know, and they were using their phone. So we basically got a glimpse of what they were doing while they were on the training, walking to their office and going through everywhere because they had their phone turned on and they didn't know their camera was on. So yeah, with webinars, you can eliminate that too. So what are the benefits of having a webinar? You can create a registry for your attendees, so you can with customized features, so you can ask questions and keep a list of who registered for your event, how many people viewed your event, and if you want to do like polling questions for knowing exactly what from what team are the attendees from, or what station are the attendees from, you can do that too. You can customize it. You can also better manage the recording of the session, because with the webinar feature, the recording goes into another page and you don't have to worry about if you recorded it right, where is it, where to find it. It's going to be there after the event comes out, at the event ends, basically. You complete the event, it'll give you a tab so you can go into the recording, see the transcript, for example. If you want a transcript of all that was said on the meeting, it will be there too. So it's a great feature for that. You can create live polls to make instant knowledge checks. For example, if you want to do like questions, pre-test and post-test, you can do that with the polls app too. You can do it live, the classic way. You can put the questions on the picture on the screen, whichever. But with the polls app, you can have a live app that people go in and click and your selection, and then you can see the answers right there. You can then take those answers from in an Excel form or a Word form, and then you can have them right at your fingertips and contabilize. I forgot the word. You can count them basically. Okay, so that's something good to have. We're gonna go first into a live demo of how our new app works. I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna share my screen now. I was hoping that I could show my screen here. We're really cool, but it's not working as I thought. So yeah, I'm gonna show here. When you go into the HRD app, first of all, let me show you how to get there. So let me go here. Okay, let me share my screen first, of course. Okay, cool. Okay. So you can see, even though I connected my Ethernet network, it's really slow. But the first step to getting to our app is going into the VISN 8 HR Info Hub, right? So in the HR Info Hub, once you log into the regular HR Info Hub, you basically go to the All Employees Hub by default, right? So in the All Employees Hub, we're not there. We're basically, this process is only for HR supervisors. Remember, we do not coordinate trainings for everyone in the station, every other service or whatever. It's only for HR supervisors that we do the coordination. We help you with the coordination. That's why you're here, right? So as you can see, this is the HR Info Hub. It's really loading slow, so it's a little bit difficult for me to show you how it looks. There we go, right? But how to get to our app, you're going to go into the VISN 8 HR Staff Only Info Hub. That's where you're going to go. So once you click on it, hoping that it looks better. Yeah, it's loading better. All right, so once you go into the HR Staff Only Info Hub, you will see here, you got your normal, the kudos, you got the things, and you got your links right here in the right tab. Note, just in case, sometimes, for example, in my screen with my resolution, the links show on the right side. It may vary. If you have a bigger resolution on your screen, it may jump to the bottom of the page. So keep that in mind. If you log into the site and from the start you don't get this right here, the links for the training in the right, it may be due to your resolution settings or whatever. So you can go into the bottom of the page and you will find it there. In this case, I can see it on my right, on the right of my window, right? So I have, of course, the crisis line link. I got the your HR link. And here we got the HR staff training and resources. So the training coordination request for supervisors app is right here. HRD training coordination request for supervisors. I got to change that icon. It's not forms anymore. If you click on it right here, you will go directly to the HRD Power App, which is loading right now. And there we go. Remember, only HR supervisors have access to this app right now. If you have an employee from HR that tries to click on that link, they won't have access to the app. So it's very important that you know that if you have your access, if you're a new supervisor, for example, and you have not getting your accesses right, it's good to have a contact with IRM or your service coordinator. And basically, you should talk to Katie too, so she can add you, or they can add you to the HR supervisors mailing group. It's basically the access for it is based on the HR supervisors mailing group. If you're not there, you won't have access for it, right? So it's very important for that. If you, for example, we know that not all supervisors have the time to do the request all the time, and sometimes you have like an alternate to do your request. In those cases, if you have an alternate, we're gonna give access to only one alternate, and we're gonna need their email addresses. But remember, this is gonna be like if you're a supervisor and you need it. If you don't need it, you don't have to request it. It's not necessary. But if you do have an alternate, for example, if you're not the one who coordinates the training exactly, you're the supervisor, but you're not the one that coordinates it, you have a lead on your staff that does it, you can send us an email, the email address of that person and the name, so we can add them to the new mailing group that we're going to create, and they will have access to it. But remember that email group will be based on your input. If the person leaves, we have to take them out, and you should notify us if the person is no longer in the station working with us too. So that's very important for us. So you guys to keep us up to date with that. But remember, only one person. It's not like you're gonna have like your whole team, like, oh, I got 5 people that we can get. It's not. It's only one person we're gonna let you have as an alternate. It's not like you have to. It's only if you need it. Okay. So here we got the HRD app. We got just in case to start. If you have questions anytime, you can. Of course, we will have this video on demand for you guys, so you can see it in the HRD supervisor page. I mean, the HR Info Hub supervisor page. This video will be right there. Well, the HR staff, sorry. And you can also see the customer instructions right here. We got a button for customer instructions. You got to contact the HRD team and our training workflow chart. If you click here in customer instructions, a new page will appear, and it'll give you the PDF with the instructions step by step. We have designed a step-by-step instructions that you can click on the buttons, and you can go directly to whatever you need. For example, this here, if you see here, this is the page. You can here click once it loads, of course. Let's see here. There you go. So once it loads, you can click next here, and you go into the content page. If you need assistance in something specific, like you're trying to do a multiple sessions training request and you don't remember, you just click here and you'll go directly to that page on the training manual, right? So if you need to go back, you just press here back, and you'll go back to the content menu, and you can select whichever. If you need our points of contact, you can go here too. And you can click here on the email. You can see the list of us, or the HRD team, in case yes you need it. All right. So, and it's all done with step by step. You will have pictures showing you exactly where to click. You can have like a preview of, if you click here, what happens. It'll give you all the information step by step, and give you information of about every button and the process that you can do. Right. So, and it's step by step, so you don't have, if you miss one step, you can go back and see what you missed. You can get it right there. All right, so you can have that as a reference here. You can contact us here, and the HRD training workflow chart I'm going to show you. This will give you basically how do we work the request, right? And you can know on which step you are once you submit your request, so you can have a better idea of how we work it. You go from start to finish. It'll show you all the steps that we go through to make a training coordination, right? So you can see it right here. So in case, for example, you submitted your request and you don't know, we already contacted you, but you don't know where you are at right now, you can go here and you can have a reference of where you are in the process, right? So that's a good reference to have. All right, so let's do this button. You guys won't see it. This is only for us in the HRD team, so we can see your request. So just in case, you only see this 5 buttons right here. So let's say you want to submit a training request. Let's say you're in the HRD team and you want us to coordinate a training for determining service compensation dates. That's the one I did last month, right? But I needed something. I needed something for an example, right? So here we go. Let's submit a training request. If you go here, you have various options. You can have one training session, either a single session or a lunch and learn session, or 2 or more training sessions for the same event. For example, if you have like a series, let's say you have this training will be done 3 days in a row, or 3 days, no more than 6 weeks in advance, and in difference, right? Or you can go here. That's one thing. Before you submit a request, be sure to know that all our requests should be 6 weeks in advance, right? So this is for example, so we can get the date for you and be sure that you have the date available and the time slot available for you. And we need time to do the process, right? So we need to get you the time. You need to set up the webinar, and we need to send the announcement and give ample time to the employees so they can, make their setups and be there and reserve their time slots for your training. So it's very important that you have at least 6 weeks time prior to the date of the event, all right? So let's imagine I'm going to do a single session. So I'm going to click right here on single session, and I'm going to have the single session requests page. All right, so this is the page basically for the request. In this case, my training, the title is Determining Service Competition Dates. In this case, if it's when a training has been done before, or it's basically one that you already coordinated with us before or previously, or we've done, you will see the training titles right here. In my case, Determining Service Competition Dates is right here. I can select it, and there we go. But imagine that I don't have a title. It's a new training. You have something new, and it's very important that you go through the list at least once, and and get used to the list, so to see if your training has already been done before. Because if it's already been done before, you just gotta select the title here and you're done with it. But if you have a training that's never been submitted and never been done, you can go right here into the end and you find the other new subject option. When you press other new subject, it's like you don't have the title is not available for you to select. But what you will do is like you select other new subject, and then when we receive the request later on, we'll send you an email asking you for the title of the training, so we can verify and see if it has been done before, or if it's good to go, and then we'll name your training after the request you've made. Okay, so it's very important. You'll receive an email later from us, right? But so for this event, I'm gonna delete. You press X right here, and I am gonna select Determining Service Competition Dates. All right, so I got the title. Now, where is my training gonna be? The training day, you click right here, and you get the calendar pop up. So for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna select today. But of course, let's not be so simple. Let's do it 6 weeks in advance. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 weeks in advance will be April 24, right? So I selected, and it's very important that once you select your date, if I do this, if I click April 24 and this, you will see that your date did not update. It's very important that once you select your date, you go here and press OK. Then your date will be entered into the space, right? So training time, let's say I got my training, I want to do it at 10 a.m. Eastern time. All training times should be Eastern time. So 10 a.m. I can select it right here. You can select whichever time you think is more appropriate. Of course, recommendations, always try to do it not at the start of the morning and neither at the end of the day, because 4 p.m. trainings, people will probably not go through it. So you got to choose something like in the middle, 10 a.m., 11, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., the latest, or 3 p.m., if you're pushing it, you don't want to do it so early, right? Or you want to catch, it depends also on your group. So it depends on who you want to catch, right? So 10 a.m. will be my training. The training time frame shows how long will the training be. In this case, my training session, it's not going to be an hour probably. It may go into 1.5 hours, but I'm going to do it a 1 hour session because maybe if we don't have a lot of questions, it'll go to 1 hour. If it's going to be shorter, you can select 30 minutes, whichever you want. But the maximum you can get is 2-hour sessions. We don't want a 3-hour or 2.5-hour training. In those cases, you should then request a multiple date so you can divide your training, right? If you got so much material. Okay, now notice one thing that I want you to notice is that all this time, this button here, the submit request, I can't press it. It's blank right now, right? And it says all fields must be completed. That means that until I have all of my options here selected and I have done every part, I cannot submit the request. That ensures that we have all the information we need from you for your request, right? So let's go here into the description of training and objectives. So right now, what I'm going to do here is if you've seen the communications, the comms plan, that's what we call it for every training, you'll see that we all already have like a standard of how to do the description for trainings. And it's very important. For example, if you have a training that is going to be if you want to give credit in TMS, it's very important that it has objectives clearly issued, because one of the requirements from TMS is that you need to have objectives for the training established from the get-go, right? So the first paragraph or the first lines is going to be the VISN Human Resource Development Team will provide training on determining service compensation dates for new applicants and employees on the roles. I'm basically describing what it's a summary of what the training is. Second line should be objectives for this training include, and all the objectives that I want to touch on my training. For example, it's good to always use action verbs to start the sentence. For example, I'm going to describe how to calculate periods of credible service to determine service compensation dates. SCD, I put the acronym for it so people know what I'm talking about if I mention SCD again. For leave and reduction in force, RIF purposes. The other objective, explain leave accrual rates for full, part-time, and permanent employees. Explain how to determine service credit for retirement purposes, and identify how SCDs are used for vesting purposes in the 3 savings plans. If you go into my presentation, basically that's the learning objectives that I have right there. I just copy pasted them. And if you don't have your objectives are not don't have the exact things like describe, explain, we suggest that you use those verbs as the starting point if you want to develop them, those objectives. It's very important, and it's a requirement if you want to have TMS credit for the training. And you have it's a good idea to tell us too if you want TMS credit for the event. So webinar link. If you see here, you're going to create your own webinars. We're going to go after I show you how to submit a request. I'm going to show you how to do a webinar, and we'll go in deep with that so you can have a better idea of how to do it. We'll probably have to do a training later on, but I also gave you, I'm going to give you a link to the official Teams site, which has a training video on how to do webinars. And it's basically the same thing that I would teach you. It's right there, and it's very informative, very cool, so you can have a better idea. So first thing we do, the webinar link. In this case, before I submitted my my coordination request, I already have the webinar link created. I have the event created on my calendar, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste the event link right here, and I copy it from my event, and I paste it right here. And you'll see that a hint so you can have it when you do a webinar event. The link will always starts with events.gcc teams or something like events.something teams. It's basically by default, so you can know which is the correct the link that you should copy here. I mean, you paste here. It should start with events, Teams, Microsoft event, etc., etc. So be on the lookout for that. I already have my webinar link. We're good to go with that part. We're gonna have the target audience. So you have 3 options here: VISN HR employees, VISN supervisors, and special audience. Basically, any training you're gonna give should be addressed to either HR employees or VISN supervisors from HR, right? If you have a special audience or a request from a special audience, for example, you're gonna have a specific thing like the executive team only or something like that, then you just put special audience. And you say, oh, well, no, my training is for all employees. Then if that's the case, then this is not the request you should be doing. If it's for all employees, you need to do a lunch and learn request. I'll go into details why, and I'll show you how to do it too. And I'll explain why later. So in this case, my training, determining service compensation dates, is going to be for HR employees only, right? So I put my target audience right here. Presenters. For the presenters, it's very important that you put who is going to be the person who's going to be on the screen, showing the presentation and giving the training. It can be 1, 2, sometimes it could be a whole team or 5, 6 persons, but it's very important that you know exactly who's going to give it and not put everyone in. For example, if I'm going to be the one presenting, but my team is going to be on chat, it's not a good idea to put all of them as presenters because they're not the ones who are going to present. If they're going to be in the chat, they don't need any special access because for the chat, everyone can write in the chat. But if you're going to present and you're going to be there for like, or you can add co-owners too, which will give you more management's rights to the event, like admitting people in, kicking people out, turning mics on, off, etc. Then that'll be it, right? So presenters should be the ones who will be presenting. In this case, it's going to be me. So it sounds like the song. So I'm going to write my last name, and this is based on the global address list, the GAL. So you'll see that if I type my last name, I'll show right here, Torres Morales Angel, angel.torresmorales@va.gov. So this is done too, so you can have, oh, I didn't select it right there. So now I select it. If you see the blue box with the X mark, then you selected the name correctly. If not, it'll not appear there. If you have, for example, in this case, Omaira was going to be presenting with me. So I look for Omaira here, Bedward Omaira at va.gov. I select her, and now I got 2 presenters. You don't have to click X here. You can just do that. And you see they got 2 items. If you want to review which items, which persons you have there, you just press here, and you'll see the names of the persons. So that's how you select the presenters. The unit. It's the unit you are working for, or the unit that will be doing the training. In this case, we got all the units right here from HR. In this case, it'll be the HR development team, which is us. And here we go. All right. So now the last part is the attached PowerPoint presentation. It's very important that you submit to us your PowerPoint presentation that you're going to do for 2 things. Number 1, we're going to review it and be sure that you're using the template that the VISN has required, the director has required, and that you have, the correct links, etc., etc. Also, if something happens and you can and you lose connection or something like that, we can go there right there, and we have the presentation. We can give it to, or it's a good idea to have it with any of your alternates, right? Your co-presenters or co-owners. It's a good idea that they have it too, so they can upload it if they need to go right in and do it. But just in case, if we need the presentation and you lost it or whatever, we can look for the presentation and we can upload it to the event at the moment. Okay. So if I don't attach a file, I cannot submit a request. So in this case, I'm going to go here, attach a file, and I'm going to look for, in my desktop, I have a dummy file that I created, which is right here. That's it. Oh, here we go. This is the annual leave, our HRD dummy file. It was supposed to be another training, but I got the determined service competition date. So I select it, press open, and it'll upload here, right? So now that it's uploaded and you see it right here, now you know that you can submit your request. And you can see now that the submit request button has turned blue. So I double check what I wrote, the description, I got the webinar link. It's showing that I did everything. I uploaded the PowerPoint presentation, got everything set. So here we go. I just submit the request, and now it'll take a couple of seconds till it submits the information, and that's it. Submitted successfully. You'll get this screen, and you'll get an email after this. So in a couple of seconds, sometimes seconds, sometimes a minute or 2, you will get an email directly from our app, giving you a summary of what you submitted, all the info you submitted, and the links and all the stuff. So we're going to receive that email, and you're going to receive that email to know that your submission was successfully submitted, right? So if you don't receive the email in more than, let's say, half an hour or something like that, and you don't get the email, that means it probably did not go into our system. So in those cases, you should do. You can contact us to see if you really submitted it, if the app really submitted it or whatever, so we can check if there's an issue with the app. But normally, it should be in less than 1 or 2 minutes. You should get the email. Right now, my computer is really slow. Oh, but I just got it right here. Let me see if I can show it to you guys. Shoot. I have to share another screen so you guys can see it. Give me a second here. Let me go into settings here, and I'm going to share. Sorry, I have to see my big face right now. I'm going to share my window so you can see the email. There we go. So this is the email that you're going to get. If you can see, since I was the requester, I get the requested by and my name here. If you're the requester, you will get the email by here, and you will see your name here, and it'll send a copy to us. So we can also know if, for example, if we don't check the app, with this, we know that you send a request and we can get, a better, faster service to you, right? So you see the training type, all the information that you entered in your request, you'll see it right here, the presenters, their emails, description, everything, and the webinar link, right? So that's basically it. I'm gonna show you quickly how to do another request to Lunch and Learn. If you have 2 or more training sessions, I suggest you go through the customer instructions. Let me show you the screen. The only difference in this part when you do a multiple sessions request is that you'll get more options for training dates. That's basically it. So you get the date and the time frames. Once you submit your dates and the times, you save and close it, it'll be there for you to send. Remember, it will create 3 events. So you basically, if you create, in this case, I selected 3 dates, right? So I got 3 dates, 3 different times. If I submit it like that, it'll do 3 requests. So you basically get 3 emails with 1 request for each time and date that you requested. Okay, so that's the difference. But it's basically the same process that I just showed you. For Lunch and Learns, let me explain what Lunch and Learns the difference. As I said earlier, when you have a training, well, not a training, if you have an event that your target audience is all employees, then it should be a Lunch and Learn. Why? Because Lunch and Learns are something that is not an official training. When you have something for all employees, you can do an informational session with a Lunch and Learn, and that'll be it. But let's say you want to do a training for all employees. What's the difference? Well, to do an official training for all employees, you need to get authorization and you need to have the training reviewed by the union. In those cases, then if you want to do it like that, there's no problem. And if you do the process and get the approval from the union and all that stuff, we can of course set up the training for all employees and there's no problem. But if you don't want to go through that and you just want to do an informational session, not a training, an informational session, then the Lunch and Learn is your option. Lunch and Learns do have 2 requirements. Number 1, it's only for all employees. It's not like you can do like little, specific teams or whatever. It's for all employees. And second, it's a set date and it's a set time. It should be always at 12 p.m. and the time frame should be no longer. I'm not showing my screen, right? This time frame should be no longer than an hour and a half. And an hour and a half, an hour and a half is pushing it, right? But, because it's Lunch and Learn. You should be having your lunch and, getting information. So our time frames, we get a 30-minute session and then a 1-hour session. I'm sorry, it's not a 1.5. 30-minute session or 1-hour session. That's the most you can get from a Lunch and Learn, all right? So that's basically the difference. The way to submit it is the same thing as I just showed you for a single training. For a Lunch and Learn for multiple sessions, same thing as the multiple session that I just showed you too. You select the dates. The only difference, it's for all employees, and it's always at 12 p.m. Shortest time, 30 minutes or less. Doesn't have to be 30 minutes, right? But the minimum is 30 minutes. And 1-hour session is the most you can have. Don't try to do a 2-hour session for a Lunch and Learn because you know that people will not go into it, right? So same thing. I'm not going to go through it again one by one because I already showed you. And you can go back later on. We'll have the on-demand version of this video. You can go back into what I just showed you, and it's the same thing. And of course, you have the instruction manual that we created, so you can have a reference too. So that's basically it for our app. Once you make your request, our time frame to get your request should be no more than 2 days at maximum. We always try our best to do it like as soon as possible as we get it. But the most time we can spend being like I don't know, maybe half the team is on leave or something like that, or we already have various events on the day or something like that. The most time we can get, we can be late for you is like 2 days. That's 2 days max. We're gonna be answering to you, but we will send you an email request, and we will send you an email message to basically check the details that we already received. If there's an issue with the date or time, we will also contact you so we can talk about it and maybe get a date for you that we can that you can present your event, right? So that's basically it. So, for example, I'm going to show you also, this is the example of the comms plan that we do. When you do the request, after you do your request, we will get in touch with you, right? We'll send you an email. If we need to talk to you, we'll set up a meeting with you or call you, whichever. And what we basically will do first is create a comms plan from the information you gave us. So that's why it's very important that the description and of the training and the objectives are clear, so we can help you with creating that too. Of course, we can review it for you. And if you see here, for example, the comms plan always has the description of the description of the training, sorry, the objectives. If it's going to be, if there's going to be credit given on TMS, it should also say it here. It's going to have the date and time clearly, the audience, who's going to be the facilitators, and the duration of the session. If you can see here, all the details that I entered into request are right here. Who's presenting? What's the title of the training? Audience, facilitator, duration, date, time, description, date again, just in case, and a link to the event. Once you click on here for the event to register, when you do a webinar, this is what you'll get. You get, you will be able to create a page where the attendees can register for the event and save it to their Outlook calendars or their Teams calendars, basically, too. So, and you can give them the details. You can put pictures if you want to here with your logo. For example, what I did in this case, the first page that I have, the intro page, I just created a picture from it and I uploaded it, and there it is. We put our VISN HRD logo here and the description and who is speaking. You can put pictures too on the speakers and even do a short bio for the speakers if you want to. Normally we don't do that, but you're welcome to do that too, right? And that's basically it. So let me show you here. I already showed you this. All right, so let me show you how to do a webinar. That's okay. Let me close here, and now I'm gonna show you my Teams. Let me do some cleaning here so I can. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I'm gonna share my screen for the webinar, and I'm for my Teams, right? And I'm gonna show you how to do. I'm gonna have to show you the whole screen because it has a lot of pop-ups, right? So bear with me. I know the number one complaint from everyone is like, your screen is too big. I know. I need my screen big. I need to have like a lot of space so I can work all the videos and all the stuff, and and the trainings and all the stuff. I need a whole lot of space. If you can see here, I got a wide screen, so I'm sorry for that. But please do tell me, does it look good for you guys? Or you want me to make it bigger, or is it okay like that? Team, does it look good? All right. Hoping it looks good. So when you're going to do a webinar, first thing you're going to do, you're going to go into your calendar in your Teams app, right? And you see here, you got a new meeting and you got a down arrow button right here, right? So you can click here and you get two things, the webinar and control content. That's new, but we're going to do a webinar. I'm going to search for this and see what's this, but the webinar, that's what we're here for. So to create a webinar, you click right here, and then you get this pop-up that gives you the webinar info. So I'm gonna leave this here so you can see it. Let me see if I can make it bigger. Perfect. All right, so we got bigger here. So first things first, I can show you that I have here my notepad with all the data that I'm gonna use. It's better if I can do copy paste, right? So for the title, you're gonna do determining service competition dates. One tip that I will give you is like, try to do determine service competition dates. I always put a dash. I put the date of the event. In this case, it was 4/24/2024 at 10 a.m. Why do I do that? Because it's easier for the person when you do this. This is the title of the training that's going to appear on the calendar. So it's easier for the person to see at what time and what date it is, just in case. And it helps to the employee or whoever is registering for it see at what time it is and can have a better grasp on if you have the time or whatever to go to the event, right? So you put your title. This is optional. You don't have to do it, but I recommend it. Putting your date and time of the event. You're going to choose here the date, which is going to be 4/24/2024 at 10 a.m. and the end date, which is the same thing, but 1 hour, because it was a 1 hour session, right? By default, in this case, of course, I'm in the beautiful island of Puerto Rico, which I'm right now without any lights, as you can see, and it hasn't come back. I'm using my battery generator, but that's living in the tropics for you, right? So my my time zone, default time zone is San Juan, right? But in your case, most of you, if you're in the US and Florida, you probably have the Eastern time. In my case, I always change it to Eastern time, US and Canada, just in case for the event to have the correct time. Right now, we already did daylight savings time. We're back on sync 2 hours, right? So it's no problem. But before that, a week ago, just coordinating this event to get at the wrong time, at the right time, it was a mess because the system doesn't know how to recognize it because I'm here, right? And I would have 1 hour more than you guys. So it was a mess, but we figure it out. And right now, you shouldn't have that problem. The default will be your time, but if, like me, if you're in San Juan and daylight savings time is going on, then you should have that as a check just in case. The description, you can type it right here. I can do, what I'm going to do is like, I'm going to copy paste it, the one that I have from the event. The best thing you can do is do that the same. If you do a description objectives and we give you the, or you have already your description, you just copy paste it right here and there we go. You can add here. The good thing is you can add, if you want to put it on bold, you can have here bold or stuff like that. You can do italics, you can do highlights, whichever. Like if you want to do a highlight here, I can do this. But SCD highlight. Oh no, I'm sorry, that's the text color, right? But you can do a highlight too. Determine service credit, whichever you want. Oh no, that's clear formatting. That's not the thing that I want to look at. This is the highlight. So if you want to do a highlight, you click here and you put the yellow, and now it has a highlight. You can do whatever you want for it. If you want to like highlight something, you can do that. But it gives you a text editor. If you want to take all this out, you just click here and it's back to basic. Right, and you can add links too. If you need to add a link for whatever reason, if you have something like a reference material that you want the people to have the link, you can add it right here, press the link button, and it'll give you the link right there, right? So you have your description, objectives, and then co-organizers. When you create a webinar event, it's a requirement from our part for you that you add us, all the team of, all of us at the HR development team, as co-organizers. Why is that? Because we need to be available. For example, we don't know exactly who's going to be that day here. Something can happen. Maybe all of us are here. Maybe the one who coordinated the event with you is going to be here. But if something happens, probably they may be not here, right? So the best thing is to add every one of us so we can be there to provide you assistance, if it's needed, right? So I always do, like, I add Marcus, I add Omaira, I add Lisette, I add Valerie, I add Samantha, and I add Luis. And in this case, I'm the presenter, so I'm not going to add myself as a co-organizer because I'm the organizer. So if you are the organizer of the event, you don't need to put yourself as co-organizer, of course. If you're going to present, then you can leave yourself here and you're the organizer. If you're creating it, of course, you're the organizer, so there's no problem. If in this case, I'm going to present with Omaira, so I'm going to put Omaira here as a presenter so the system knows that she's going to be a presenter. If you add somebody here as and the presenter and don't add it as a co-organizer, it's okay. You can do that too. That person will have the access to be able to present and share the screen for the event, but they can't like change anything after that, right? So it's always good to put your organization, not public. If there's something like really public that you want to do, you could select it, but I don't recommend that. You should put your organization so everybody in the VA, our VA, VISN 8, can access the event, right? So that's the first part. You have all your info right here, and you click save and send invites. Once you do that, it'll give you the next part. You can go into the manage apps, meeting options, etc., etc. But we'll go step by step, right? So to the presenter bios, theming, etc. So I can show you. But right now, what happened right now when I press save and send updates, everybody that's here as a co-organizer and here as a presenter will get an invite to the event, right? So that's the first part. Presenter bios. If you want to do the bios for who's presenting, you can click here and edit. You can put the photo of the person. You can change the info right here. If you're going to put LinkedIn profiles, I want to recommend that. But if you want to do it, hey. And if you have like maybe you have somebody from another station or I don't know, a resource from who has a LinkedIn profile, Twitter profile that you want to share or whatever, you can do that too. And you can add the bio. Once you click on it, you can save it and it'll appear here, right? In this case, I'm gonna ignore that. I'm not gonna do a bio. It's not necessary or required. But for the theming, for example, you got the banner image, the theme color, and the logo. First thing, I'm gonna change it to blue, the color of our team. Change image. I can leave it like that. I can move it if I want to, but I'm gonna choose another image. In this case, I'm gonna go with the one that I already have is the capture right here. From the presentation that I had in PowerPoint, I turn on the presentation and I went with the snipping tool and basically did a cut of about this size or a little bit larger. It doesn't matter because you can move it. You'll see right here when I open it, it'll appear right here and I can move it if, so if I want the logo to show, then I will have to do it a little bit, cut a little bit more, or move the logo in the presentation a bit lower so I can have it. But in this case, I'm just gonna go with the title and the clock here. That's it. You can do a zoom if you want, and then you press save. And as you will see, the banner image will change to that. For the logo, I also have a logo for our team, which is here, the HRD logo. Press open and it'll appear right here. I can do zoom. I can move it. In this case, I save it as a square, so I can't move it basically. But if you have an image that's a little bit bigger, you can move it to put it in a better perspective, and you press save. See what happened here? My picture it's a transparent GIF. That's something I use for other times. So in this case, it turned black because the automatic background turns black. So I don't want that. I want the logo to show the way it is, right? So I go into my logos folder, and then I click, it's not this one. I use channel pictures, and here we go. This is the one that I use, the card for webinar. This is a JPEG that has a background already and a good resolution for the logo, and I press save, and there we go. That's the correct logo that I wanted. So once you have that, it's good to go for that part. The registration, you can configure it for the capacity. You can do a limited event if you want. If you want the default for it, it's 1,000 persons. If you want to do a smaller crowd, you can do that. A bigger crowd, you can do that. More than 1,000, you cannot do. But if you want a limited space, you can do it too. You can put 50 people, 30 people, 10 people, however you want it. I always leave it as default, so because we want as more people as we can on our training, so I always don't touch that. And for the form, when they register, you can add a field so you can have like different questions or direct questions. You can either choose from the pre-made ones. For example, I always put job title to see and require the person to give me what's their position here in the VA, so we can do a better statistics of who's going into our trainings. And I always do custom questions. You have a text input, choices, or a checkbox, yes or no, whichever. In this case, I'm going to text input, and I'm going to put what service do you belong to? Because in the registration, I want to know to what service these employees are working for, so I can know. And I'm going to put it required, so they have to answer it and not ignore it. I can do also in the custom, I can do a choice. I can do you know about SCD? And I can put yes or no. And also required. You can put multiple select if they put all of them at the same time. Not suggested, right? And the other option will be a checkbox. If you want to do I put it required, and it said, well, something required for this is like, will you like it? I don't know. I'm just making it up as we go. And then that's it. And the person will press the checkbox. Doesn't make sense, right? So, whichever. Now you know that you have that option. Anyways, so once you have that, you press save. And that'll be the questions that appear for the registration for the person when they go into the registration site. So attendee status, you cannot see this until the event, the registration page goes live and people start registering. You will not see that. You will also see that after you publish the site and the event is completed, you can go here and you can see the reports and all the stuff. You got the reports, and you go console, so also can see the recordings. You will have it from there, and you can publish them from OneDrive to whichever you want, right? So once you have that, you see here that you got all your information. You already did this, so you can view a draft of how the site will look, the registration page will look like. So if you click on view draft, you can have a preview. That's like the double check. You can see if it looks good. I can see my banner, I can see my logo, my title looks good, the details, I can see the date, time, online event. The register button, of course, it won't appear for me because I'm an event organizer, so I don't need to register. I have the speakers here. We're good to go, basically. So I can then now click on publish site. That's the word. It'll ask you once again, ready to publish? You press publish, and that's it. It'll automatically set the event, and it'll give you the share link. This link, as you can see, is the one that you're going to provide to us when you create your training request. You're going to click, you can click here. You can save it onto your notes or whatever. And you'll see here, if I go now, it's already published. So if I can go out from here and I can go into my Internet Explorer and I can go here. I put the link and there we go. The site is live. So people can register to the event right here. Of course, you as an organizer, you don't have to register, and everyone you added as an organizer cannot see the register button. But when people who are not registered for the event click on here, they will be asked to, they will have their information automatically put from like their names and their email address. That's automatic. What they have to input is the answers to the questions you put for the registration, right? If you put any. If you don't want to have any information for that, it's not necessary. That's only for statistic purposes, basically. So that's basically it. All right. So I hope I give you a good explanation on this. I know I may talk fast, but hopefully, since this is recorded, you can put it like you can rewind it back, right? Let me go back here and let me share here the PowerPoint presentation once again. There we go. And so requirements, just in case, let me go through this when you're doing a request. What are requirements? Number one, requests are to be done only by the HR supervisors or your alternates. As I explained before, if you have an alternate, get in touch with us so we can we're going to create a mailing list for that. And those persons will be added there and they will have access to the app because of that, right? So it's very important. Number two, requests must be done within 6 weeks. I know that 6 weeks is a lot. 6 weeks, it's more like especially for if you have a lunch and learn event, it's necessary that you have at least 6 weeks, because remember that for a live event, for a lunch and learn event, you have everyone from the field. So you basically have supervisors too. And one of the requests that a lot of supervisors make is like they need time so they can make up their schedule and or clear their agenda if they need if they need to be on that training. So they required us to have at least 6 weeks so we can do that, right? So it's very important for that. Number three, the dates. Remember, you submit a date and you have your date, but it's not set in stone until we check our calendar and be sure that the space that you want, the event time and date that you want, it's available to you. Remember, since everybody also all the supervisors are making requests prior, they may have already selected your dates. So it's very important if you want to do multiple events or something like that, do it with time. But one thing, it's okay. We have the 6 weeks in advance, but do not do like, for example, like your whole schedule for the year. We won't work it like that. We work at least 2-3. It's the most that you can have in advance, so you can have the dates. But more than 4 months, we cannot take your request because it's too long of a date for us to be working it. Plus, remember, if you, for example, have an event, if you request the event right now for 4 or 6 months in advance, the announcement will come in. We will request for the announcement to be sent when it's ready to go, right? And if we send an announcement 6 months in advance, you probably won't get a lot of people in and into the training because they're gonna see it for those weeks. And from what we've seen, the life cycle of a invitation to an event, a comms plan event that we send, it's like 1 week at the most. Like 5 days is the most that you can have that going through inboxes, and before people see it. And tell you the truth, it's like more. The reality is like 2 or 3 days after you send that. 2 or 3 days after, that message is like gone with the wind because all our inboxes get flooded with everything else, and it'll probably get flooded with that. And sometimes people tend to ignore announcements because they see it so much, they just ignore it. So it's a good practice to have your events not be so advanced as to 6 months, 4 months, or whatever. 3 months is like the medium that we can use, right? So very important for that. And number 4, webinar are managed by you. So it's very important that you add us as co-organizers for us to be able to help you if something comes up. The expectation from now on will be that you are the one creating your webinars. Once you get used to the webinar and Teams, which I know Teams is a little bit tricky, and now with the webinar thing, it may get a little bit tricky, but you will, if you need assistance, we will be there for you. We're going to provide probably a training later on to go more in depth with the options that you have in the webinar, because I didn't go, and I'm really it's scraping 1 hour now, and I don't want to extend myself. So I'm not going to show you the how to unmute mic, etc. That we're going to leave for another session, maybe a quick session, 5-minute session. We can do a video or something like that. We'll cover that later on. But be sure to add us as a co-organizers for all your events so we can be there for you just in case. So resources, we have here 2 links that I want to share with you. Number 1 is the HR Info Hub for HR staff. That's the link to go directly into that, to the Info Hub. Say if you don't have it, it's a good idea to save it as a HR supervisor. It's a good idea that you have that site always available for your reference and your resources and all this stuff. And the other link that I have right here, you can click right here, the Teams webinar training resource. If you click right there, that's a video directly from Microsoft, and it'll give you a training on the webinar feature. It'll go really in depth on all the features that it has, like muting the mics, letting people in, all the options you have. The ones that I cannot cover right now, you can go right there and you can get that training in advance, right? Before we cover it. All right. So now I know it's 2:07. I did not see the clock. It's been 1 hour now, and this was scheduled for 1 hour, so I don't want to take more of your time. But if you have any questions from this, from the training that I just gave, yeah, I'm gonna open up the mics so you can come in and make your questions. You can write in the chat, whichever. And again, do we have the whole HRD? Yeah. It's good for you guys when you create your webinars to add all the team as co-organizers just in case. Because remember, maybe I'm coordinating the training with you, and I will be sure to at least be there for the first 5-10 minutes for the event. Sometimes we cannot make it every time. We expect that with time you will be able to do your webinars and your trainings without any assistance from us. But of course, we're going to be in the beginning. We're going to be there for you guys, at least a 5-10 minutes, 15 minutes at the start, so we can help you with the lobbies and all this stuff. And but yeah, it's a good idea to have us so we can help you with that, right? So please do add us, all of the team, as co-organizers. Again, it's 2:09 and again, so thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate your time for being here, and then we hope that we can be a good resource for you guys. And whatever question you have, be sure to write to us at VISN8HRD@va.gov. Let me see here. There's the link. And here's my ugly face. Thank you. And if you have any questions, VISN8HRD@va.gov. You can click right here. It'll give you the link to send us an email. And again, thank you so much, and have a great afternoon.